Hey guys, glad you could make it to what might be the craziest, most game-changing shakeup in pro tennis this season. We are looking at something totally next level right here. There's a narrative unfolding that's sending ripples from the hard courts of Southeast Asia straight to the massive arenas here in the US. This isn't just gossip or marketing fluff. It's the real deal. It's locked in, and it's awesome. Alexandra Eala, the pride of the Philippines, has hit a tier that transcends rankings, brackets, and junior trophies. She's stepped into the big league's superstardom, and not just in her backyard. She is officially a sensation here in America. Right now, legions of supporters are making moves. Box offices are selling out fast. Flights are being booked. Local groups are setting up viewing parties and stadium tailgates. People are crossing state lines just to catch her in action on U.S. soil. We're past the point of calling her just a bright prospect working her way up. We are watching a global legend come into her own. Just stop for a second and think about how huge that is. America isn't exactly quick to jump on the bandwagon for international tennis stars. We've got a pretty heavy history with the game ourselves. This is the land that gave us icons like Serena Williams, Andre Agassi, Pete Sampras, and Billie Jean King. Tennis is deep in our DNA. Our standards are sky high. The fans here know what's up, and they expect perfection. But check this out. From the buzzing courts of New York to the sunny vibes in California, everyone is whispering the same name. Alex Eala. American tennis heads are breaking down her shot choices, her cool head, that gutsy baseline, play those lefty angles. But past the stats, there's a vibe shift. The Filipino-American community has shown up in a major way. Whole blocks of seats are getting bought out early. Banners are ready. Drums, chants, organized fan meetups, the works. It's not just the heritage crowd, though. A fresh wave of American enthusiasts, people who just love a good underdog story and a fierce fighter, are jumping on board. They see a kid who packed her bags as a teen to go grind in Spain. They recognize that discipline forged at the Rafa Nadal Academy. They respect the toughness built in the trenches of the lower-level tour. They see the realness, and realness translates anywhere. We're seeing attendance numbers you'd expect for a top 10 veteran, not a 20-year-old still finding her footing. Queues are forming before the gates even open. Gear is flying off the shelves. Social feeds are blowing up. TV commentators can't stop saying her name. This is grassroots growth. This is a movement, and honestly, the coolest part, it's a total cultural mashup. For a long time, tennis has had a hard time really taking off outside the usual powerhouse countries. But Alexandra Eala is connecting those worlds in real time. She reps Southeast Asia, plays with European polish, and is now winning hearts in the States. That's a unicorn combination. What makes this even better is that we're only in the first act. It feels like the start of a legacy, not the climax. Because when thousands of Americans rally behind a young Filipina athlete, not because an ad told them to, but because they believe in her, that's not a fad, that's an arrival. And the whole tennis scene is taking notes. This isn't just about match scores anymore. It's about visibility. It's about connecting the world. It's about a young contender walking into stadiums usually owned by the giants and running the show her way. The US has cheered for winners before, but today we're cheering for potential, and Alexandra Eala is the main character. Stick around, because if this keeps up, we might be watching the prologue of a history book. This is bigger than a hot streak. It's a total game changer. It proves a core truth about modern sports. Talent doesn't care where you're from. Greatness can't be stopped by borders. A killer story of hard work, sacrifice, and pure skill can win over a crowd anywhere on earth. For 4 years, we've tracked Alex Eala's climb. We watched her hustle through the juniors. We saw her hoist trophies when the heat was on. We caught those glimpses of brilliance, that maturity, that hunger that never quit. But what's happening now in the States, that's a whole new ballgame. This kind of exposure, this real physical footprint in America, getting this much love from one of the biggest sports markets, this is the tipping point. This is where she goes from hometown hero to worldwide powerhouse. And today we're going to unpack exactly how that went down. We'll check the stats. We'll look at the cultural vibes. We'll break down the gameplay. And we'll figure out what exactly gives Alexandra Eala that magnetic pull. So, get comfortable, because this is the story of how a girl from the Philippines stole the spotlight, the respect, and the energy of thousands right here in the US. Now, to get why American crowds are swarming like this, we gotta look at the groundwork. Because stardom like this doesn't just happen by accident. It's built brick by brick over years. First off, the background. Alex Eala isn't some overnight success story. There were no shortcuts, no sudden lucky breaks. Her rise is fueled by non-stop grind, meticulous planning, and trade-offs that most teenagers wouldn't even dream of making. Packing up her life as a kid, moving across the world, and diving into a totally new training culture, her transfer to the Rafa Nadal Academy in Manacor, Spain was the turning point, a brilliant move within a system molded by one of the fiercest competitors the sport has ever seen. She soaked up way more than just the mechanics. She internalized the mindset, the discipline, the toughness, and the tactical vision, all under the watch of top-tier mentors in an environment built on championship DNA. She polished a play style that mixes brute force with smarts, and that style starts off with a built-in edge right out of the gate. She is a lefty. In the pro game, that one detail completely warps the geometry of the court. Her serve naturally carves out sharp angles on the deuce side. Her cross-court forehand drags right-handed rivals way out wide, forcing them into awkward backhand battles. Strategies have to change. Return spots get tweaked. The momentum tips her way before the rally even really gets going. But it is not just about being a southpaw. It is about how she works it. Her forehand is packed with heavy topspin, the result of years grinding in clay-heavy systems. The ball kicks up high, knocking opponents off their rhythm. Then she switches it up with a flatter, piercing backhand that she hits with conviction, mixing spin and accuracy, patience, and attack control and smart gambling. That mix makes her a threat, but skills alone don't explain her stardom in the States. The next piece of this rise is the story. American crowds really vibe with stories of grit and self-made success. They get the grind. They respect the hustle. When fans find out she clawed her way through the minor leagues, stacked up ranking points under the radar, and earned her spot inch by inch, it hits home. There is realness in that journey, and realness sells. The third factor, and maybe the most explosive, is where cultures collide. The Filipino-American community is one of the biggest and tightest diaspora networks in the United States. When they back one of their own, they move as a unit, organized, seen loud and proud. But what makes this specific moment special is that the cheering section has grown way past just heritage. General American tennis buffs are tuning in now, too. They are watching a contender who plays without fear. They see a cool head in high-pressure spots. They see a magnetic personality without the ego. That combo works in any culture, and when you blend hometown pride with general respect, you spark something rare. You get a wave that keeps getting bigger. Crowds swell, coverage grows. Curiosity morphs into fandom, and suddenly what started as pride turns into a sensation. This is the tipping point. Not just because of the stats, not just because of the wins, but because getting known in the United States shifts the business side of a career. Brands start looking. TV networks pay attention. Event organizers get interested. The sheer size of the market boosts everything. This is where local success flips into global leverage. And the crazy part, it feels like the beginning. This doesn't feel like the end of the chapter. It feels like the spark. So, as we keep digging into this, we aren't just looking at a tennis player. We are breaking down how modern icons are built through skill, story, cultural bonds, and a fan base ready to show up in force. Alexandra Eala didn't just get American fans. She worked for them, and that makes all the difference. Armed with a forehand that runs the show and a backhand that can flip defense into offense in a split second, Alexandra Eala became way more than just another talented junior. Her European schooling, structured, tough, forged in the heat of competition, blended perfectly with her natural athletic gifts. The result was a player who didn't just play the junior circuit, she owned it. And that is where America really started paying attention. To understand her current fame here, we have to look back at one key moment, her historic run at the U.S. Open Junior Championships. Winning a junior Grand Slam is a massive feat for any up-and-comer. But pulling it off in New York on the hard courts with the American media watching and some of the toughest fans in the world in the stands, that is a whole different ballgame. When she held up that U.S. Open Junior trophy, becoming the first Filipino ever to win a junior Grand Slam singles title, it wasn't just a win, it was a declaration. She didn't just sneak away with a prize. She put everyone on notice. The American tennis world has always tipped its hat to champions. It values grit. It respects grace under fire. And at that tournament, they witnessed both. They saw a teenager who didn't blink when the stakes were high. They saw a strategy way beyond her years. They saw poise on the mic. They saw class when she won. That U.S. Open didn't just give her some hardware. It poured the foundation for everything happening right now. It planted a seed that has really grown. American fans kept her name in mind. Broadcasters recalled her cool demeanor. Analysts remembered how she handled the heat on one of tennis's biggest stages. So when her name started rising again on the Pro Tour, it wasn't new. It was familiar, and familiarity builds loyalty. But you can't explain the story of Eala in America just by talking tennis, because beyond the shots and volleys lies something way stronger: community. The United States is home to millions of Filipino Americans. It is one of the largest and most vibrant expat groups on the planet. This is a community that takes serious pride in its roots, tight-knit and rock-solid in their support of anyone who represents them. And for the Filipino-American community, often called the Fil-Am community, Alex is bigger than an athlete. She is a symbol. She is visible on a global platform that hasn't historically seen many Southeast Asian stars in the singles game. When she walks onto an American court, she isn't walking alone. She carries the pride of families who have built lives from California to Nevada, Hawaii to New York and beyond. She stands for the generations who kept their heads down grinding to build a life halfway across the globe. For them, watching her rise feels incredibly personal. It validates their entire journey. It is about seeing one of their own go toe-to-toe with the giants of the sport and proving she absolutely belongs. That deep bond is exactly why the cheering hits harder. It isn't just casual fandom. It is a shared mission. That is why box offices sell out the second she is on the schedule. It explains the sea of flags and chants that boom way louder than you would expect. Because for millions of Filipino Americans, Eala isn't merely hitting a ball, she is holding up a mirror to their own aspirations. And when you mix top-tier talent with that level of representation, you stop having a fan club and start building a movement. Taking home the Junior US Open title might have been her opening handshake with the States. But the blend of her grind on tour, that cultural heartbeat, and a community hungry to back a hero is what turned a simple hello into a nationwide sensation. We are still watching the early chapters of this saga. Whenever Alex steps onto a court in the US, the vibe shifts from a sporting event to something else entirely. It morphs into a massive cultural celebration. The arena changes complexion, suddenly awash in waves of blue, red, white, and yellow. Flags pop up all over the bleachers, while rhythmic chanting rolls over the hard court during every break in the action. The atmosphere ditches the polite golf claps for something raw and electric. You don't just hear the noise. You can feel it vibrating right through the concrete. That energy pulses through every volley and completely alters the mood of the fight. An atmosphere like that carries real weight. It manufactures a home field advantage even when she is playing thousands of miles away from Manila. For Alex, walking out onto American soil doesn't feel like an away game. It feels like walking into her living room. You might hear twangs and drawls from Los Angeles to New York, but the underlying pride and belief in her game speak the exact same language. This instant army of supporters runs deep. It gives her a mental safety net that most international players can only dream of having on the road. Here is the kicker, though. That electricity creates a spillover effect that reaches way beyond just the Filipino-American crowd. It is contagious. Casual American spectators who just showed up for a day of tennis get sucked into her orbit. They hear the roar, spot the waving flags, and instinctively know they are missing out on the main event. Interest quickly morphs into focus. They need to taste that energy and see exactly who is commanding such fierce devotion. Once they witness those lefty angles, the heavy forehand, and her gutsy shot-making, curiosity hardens into respect. It is a classic snowball effect sparked by diaspora passion. The mainstream spotlight pours gas on the fire, and momentum takes over. What started as neighborhood pride blossoms into a cross-cultural obsession. Now throw all that into the mix of where women's tennis sits right now. The tour is going through a massive shakeup. The old guard has bowed out and the long reigns of dominant champions are fading into memory. The top spot is up for grabs, and American crowds are starving for action. They want fresh faces, heated rivalries, bayo, and stories that feel real. Alex slides right into that vacancy. She offers youth without the drama intensity, without the ego, and blends technical precision with raw heart. Her game is electric, aggressive, yet calculated thoroughly, modern but rooted in old-school fundamentals. She is the prototype for the next era of pros trained globally, culturally plugged in, and extremely visible online. You cannot ignore that digital piece. We aren't in the age where TV ratings are the only thing that builds a legend. Today's icons are made on the internet. Clips of her crushing forehands go viral on social feeds before the set is even over. Gritty videos of her drilling on the practice courts rack up millions of views. Candid backstage moments make her relatable, while her interviews show a poise way beyond her age. People share her highlights like crazy. Her name consistently trends across hashtags in markets all over the map. Crucially, that online footprint hits home with younger American fans, the exact crowd the tour is desperate to capture. They engage with sports in a totally new way. They aren't just watching a game, they are following a character arc. They buy into the person and the emotional ride. Alex delivers on all fronts. She isn't just a name on a bracket, she is the storyteller of her own journey. When you fuse a compelling backstory with winning results, you strike gold. That is the recipe for lasting stardom. So when people say she is blowing up in the States, it isn't just marketing fluff. It is built on a solid foundation of community love and elite skill. It is the collision of viral internet fame and raw in-person stadium noise. She arrived at the perfect transition point for the sport. And the crazy part, this is likely just the opening act. She isn't just gathering speed. She is constructing a legacy. It is an identity that speaks to Gen Z and millennials who value being real over being flashy, grinding over talking, and being global citizens. She stands for being humble, yet relentlessly ambitious without the drama. Believe me, the big sponsors are taking notes. The tournament directors notice it. The press definitely picks up on it. That is exactly why she is grabbing everyone's attention right now. It is the reason she is dominating the headlines. It is why people stopped whispering her name like she is just a possibility. They talk about her like she has already arrived. She looks like the blueprint for the future of women's tennis, and fans in the States want the bragging rights of saying they were watching her from day one. But if you look past the marketing deals and the hype, there is a real engine driving this surge. It is psychological. American sports culture absolutely worships grit. We love a dark horse who just will not quit. We put pure resilience on a pedestal. We respect the competitor who takes a beating and uses it as gas for the fire. Alexandra embodies that story perfectly. She is grinding through the insane pro schedule, playing through pain, surviving the qualifiers, and staring down top seeds without blinking. She does not just take the win, she goes to war for it. There is real intention behind every single shot. Every time she tries to claw her way back, it feels personal. Every grueling match in the United States turns into an exhibit of sheer willpower. When she walks out onto an American court, the crowd is seeing more than just a game. They are witnessing determination. They are seeing someone who is starving for it. They are watching a fighter's mindset at work, and that gets you respect in a heartbeat. When we take a step back and really let the size of this sink in, one thing is obvious. This is not just a viral moment. This is not a flash in the pan. This is built on solid ground. We have covered her roots, the upgrades to her game, her history-making run as a junior, the massive power of the Filipino-American fanbase, and how she fits perfectly into the modern era of sports. All the pieces have clicked into place, and that kind of alignment builds a momentum that is incredibly hard to stop.